So choose who goes first. And then please stand up. So we'll say A is the observer-doer, and B is a person who will be being observed and will be lying down shortly, okay? So A, could you please stand behind your partner to begin with? And just observe how they're standing, the relationship of their arms to their torso. You can have a look from the back and from the side. Just notice what you see. Is there space between their arms and their torso? Where do their hands hang relative to their thighs? The person who's standing, could you please slowly reach with one arm? You can reach in whatever direction you'd like, and just observe how they're reaching. Change directions a little bit, B. So you can reach upwards, you could reach forwards, you could reach sideways, you could reach downwards. And now you can notice, do any of those directions look somehow easier? How much of them is involved in their reaching? Okay. And pause. Now, A, could you organize yourself where you could bring your hands to their shoulder blade so that you could follow their movement? So you organize yourself to have one hand or two hands on them. And then B, begin to reach again. And A, if your partner is going a little fast or make the movements a little large for you to notice something or to follow, you could invite them to slow down a little bit or make a smaller movement. So just choose now one direction. So be whichever direction you've felt is easier for you. Just reach in that direction and then come back. And then repeat that several times. A, can you conform your hands to your partner in a way that you can follow their movement or track the movement of their shoulder blade or shoulder girdle without interfering with their movement? Okay. Please leave that and both sit down on the floor. Sit behind your partner again to begin with. I'm going to explore the same process in sitting. So organize yourself to bring your hands to contact your partner, to touch their shoulder blade, their scapula. And B, begin to reach, just a little, perhaps slower. And see, what direction do you choose first to reach in? Do that several times. A, feel free to adjust your hands or yourself so that you might more easily follow your partner. And you can try using one hand or two hands, noticing if you sense differences. And B, of course, you're noticing when your partner uses one hand or two hands, whether it makes a difference to what you sense in some way. B, choose the easier direction for you. And A, follow the movement of their shoulder blade as they move in that easier direction. And then maybe choose some other places that you'd like to touch. Could be their ribs, could be their spine, could be their pelvis, could be their head. Noticing what shapes they're making, what pathway can you observe of their shoulder blade in relationship to their ribs. Okay, and leave that. Now B, could you lie down on your side with the arm that you've been exploring with uppermost? You lie down and your partner will organise themselves. Now we've talked, so on your side with the arm that you were reaching with uppermost. And we talked a little bit this week about getting comfortable on the side. So the position that offers, the configuration that offers the most support and stability is usually with the hips and knees at a right angle, and the head supported so that the spine is in line, the spine of the neck is in line with the rest of the spine. So just check that with your partner, if you can observe whether their head is lower than the line, meaning their neck is angled downwards a little bit, or upwards a little bit, and then get some flats or folded towel so that you're not resting on your underneath arm. Your B's head is on the support. So why would we do this? Why would we change or organise the height underneath their head? She needs more. We were just saying that we would. So you might feel comfortable. So see if you can listen while you're observing. The person on the floor might feel comfortable. And that may be because our ability to make distinctions around our comfort is a certain way, or we assume a certain position and assume it could be familiar or it may be okay. But there are certain organisations of our skeletons that facilitate possibilities and reduce others. What do you think about that now?
I'm just thinking she's just tilted a little bit.
Yes. So once you've put some supports in there, you can ask your partner whether they're comfortable. Another reference that you can use for the height of their head is whether their line of their face is parallel with the surface of the floor. So come round and check from the front also. So the line of the face, the midline, if you draw a line between their eyebrows, through their nose, their chin, that line would be more or less parallel with the floor. Did you check from the front, Marissa?
I did, and I went like this, and I felt like it was slight, like ever so slightly.
Okay, so gather over here for a moment.
But I was like, it's pretty close. I don't know what to do to change it.
Yeah. Please come over here for a moment. Yes.
A little bit, which is what.
Yes. So, Ruth, maybe you could bring the skeleton over also. So you've been given, so Marissa's hips are more or less at a right angle. She could bend them.
Sorry.
Emma, sorry. Emma, could you bend your knees, bring your knees up a little bit more? Okay. Now, if you look at Emma, she's a little rolled forwards. And if you look at the line of her face, it's tilted. Now, we're always making compromises for what is comfortable for the person's organisation and what suits our particular purposes. But Marissa was having a little trouble getting it just right. If you look at what she's lying on, you can see that the folds of the towel actually are contributing to the orientation of her head. So maybe, Emma, that's right. So the height variation was actually partly in what she was lying on. So towel folding becomes a skill. Okay.
That already looks better.
So a little difference can make a big difference. The other thing is, so if we were had a particular intention in mind, which we do, we're going to explore the shoulder girdle. It's good to know that she's already rolled a little forwards, so her weight is more forwards than being truly on the side. So I'm just going to check, does it make a difference if we create a little bit more height? And is it comfortable for you, Emma, to bring your head a little backwards so that you're okay? What about bringing your shoulder a little more over your other shoulders? You can leave your arm where it was. Leave your arm where it was, but rolled more on your side. How is that?
Holding it there.
Holding it there?
Yeah.
Okay. So come back and go back to where you want to be. Okay.
That's what we noticed too, because when we first got her in the position, like when you had come past and we were like, oh, we'll take this out and get the right height, she looked good, but it only lasted probably 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden it's slowly, she wants to go back into that position.
Yeah. So that's like a home. It's a comfort position. And it's what's more familiar for her now, which may change in the process. So the exploration we're going to do now, you can do knowing that there is the orientation of your partner as a little away from perhaps true side lying. So can you put the skeleton down there? You know, and how we make ourselves comfortable on the side is often linked to our sleeping position. But here we're actually not wanting to necessarily go to sleep, but can I have a little bit more support? So part of it can be positional and part of it can be organisational within the person. And we do what we can to begin with the position and the configuration to create a comfortable, fairly stable position, but where there's the minimum amount of work going on to hold oneself in that position. So, he likes to go in the other direction. So you can see the width of the shoulder girdle. There is a width to the shoulder girdle. Some people are wider, some people are narrower. And as you find a more appropriate height for the head, it's often easier to find a position where you're not working to maintain your position, but you're really resting your weight to the ground. This configuration of the legs gives a larger base of support. That's clear for people? Now you've reorganised yourself. Are you comfortable like that?
If I actually come onto my side, a bit more on my shoulder, then I can stay there comfortably.
Okay. So if your partner is like this, you can begin like this. But you could also just, before you start, ask them, can you roll yourself so that your weight is more clearly, so that your right shoulder is above your left shoulder? And they're telling you something about what they know or understand. So do you feel you're comfortable there?
Not really, but I can maintain it.
Okay, so how could we make her more comfortable for now? Maybe something between her knees. So if there's a tendency to roll forwards.
Do you want us to move the skeleton? It's kind of like confronting. Oh, no, don't watch that bit.
Okay. Has that made any difference?
Yeah.
That's made a little difference. Now let's just try one higher. So the angle of her leg is tending to bring her weight forwards. So by lifting that upper knee, it transfers a little bit back, takes her thigh back, pelvis back.
Could you put 200 in her knee?
Yes, let's try.
I mean, under the bottom.
No, we wanted to feel the ground and her relationship to the ground. How's that?
I think that's taking me a little bit
Too far?
Yeah.
Let's go one.
Still,
So it's made a difference from somewhere else.
that's much more comfortable. She's nodding her head with a lot of neck.
Okay. In what way? You that way? Okay. So but the line of her face is more or less parallel with the floor. It's not a big deviation. So you're using multiple references. So we've got rolled forwards or back. How can we find this middle zone where it's more true side lying? And the height of the head. The line of the spine from behind. That we want the neck to be more or less a continuation. And the line of the face. So if we went back here, you can see the weight of the head, the direction of the neck, actually will influence what's possible in the freedom of her shoulder. She might already be a little on guard in terms of protecting there. What do we do? Do we have all those? Okay. Any questions?
Would you regard our movement from the back by relative shoulder positions? Or would that just be where it fell? You know, one shoulder's close to her ear and the one's further.
Where it is for now. Unless it's uncomfortable.
Is there anything about that bottom shoulder? When you're lying on the side, it seems you can have shoulders quite still sort of spread, or you can let that bottom shoulder sort of really...
It could be forwards or it could be backwards. So starting to notice the relationship of the lowish part of the shoulder girdle relative to the upper is important. But for right now, what we're doing, if it's comfortable for Emma to be like that, or your partner to be like that, it's fine.
I would like to try to put something between her ankles.
You could, but we're not wanting to make her so comfortable that she goes to sleep. Right now, our purpose was to improve her comfort on the side and the line of the spine, the organisation of the head, and being able to be in this position without feeling like she's rolling back, rolling forwards, or having to work in this position. So you can look at those factors.
Because that's something I played in my little ATM awareness myself with. That was some of the practices I did during our, practice still skills. I was trying out which way for the spine, which for the shoulder, and like for myself, I found if I'm really like right angles with something between the knees and between the ankle, it's amazingly stable and comfortable. That's why I was looking.
Okay, so maybe we'll ask just. So you can see this isn't quite at a right angle here between her. See if that influences.
Yeah, that's more comfortable.
There you
I
go.
feel like it's not that I'm working at all in my back, but I feel like my middle, which I've been not really very aware of this week, is more engaged, but in a quiet way. Like it's just I'm aware of my middle now. Yeah. The shoulders come right back. But that doesn't matter really, does it?
No.
As long as the hair comes.
Looking for the height of the head and being relatively stable, but not in a way that you're holding that there, but that the skeletal structure and the configuration supports that. Okay? For what we're doing right now, no. Okay? So yeah, you'll learn for the organisation or other practices that it assists or contributes, influences what directions you want to go in. But for now, the head more or less in line with the spine from all directions is what you're looking for, but not trying to put somebody where they're not comfortable. Okay? Now you can see here on the skeleton with the arm in front, the arm might be there, it could be there, it could be there, but you can still see the shoulder girdle is quite accessible to touch. And sorry, I just want to clarify. Girdle is... Shoulder girdle consists of the clavicle and the shoulder blade, the scapula. And then the arm is connected to the shoulder blade through the glenohumeral joint, the shoulder joint here. But that joint itself is very difficult to feel. But we're going to go for a walk around and map out this area. Some of you will have done it in your study groups or with people. I read that in your journals. We're going to explore it again.
Is it quite narrow? Is it quite...
Yes.
Yeah.
He is structurally quite narrow.
Is he a he or she?
Usually they're a he. They're modelled on, the first skeletons came out that were real, came from India, and they were males usually. So they're quite small. So most skeletons are modelled from that.
Hips are really different.
There are some difference. But let's go back to your partners.
Just can't bear him to have his leg off. Fix him up. I know he'll just come out again, but
Shouldn't.
I think
It's
it
in the
goes
right-
through that little
it
hole,
does.
doesn't it?
Oh, that's right.
And then
No. So you want this knot. You want both knots
I see.
on the other side. And the knot should stop it from coming through. Thanks. So B is now on the floor. A, you're checking their configuration. And you don't want them lying with their head on their arm. Oh. No, you're going back. The B is on the floor. A is going to organise themselves to sit comfortably where you could bring your hands to their shoulder. So while some people are still organizing themselves, the people who have their partner organized and comfortable in this configuration, just take a look first. Observe before you put your hands on. If you were to have X-ray vision, what could you see with your X-ray vision of their shoulder girdle, of the relationship of their arm to their shoulder girdle? Just leave it there. And before you even bring your hands to their shoulder, could you check the movability of your pelvis? Whether you can feel the ground underneath yourself? Whether you can find a position where your arms can be as light as possible and free? Your spine long? And then bring your hands to connect with your partner's shoulder. When you do, just pause there. Pause in that first place, wherever you choose. And take a moment to sense your own hands and how they conform to them. How you sense their shape through your hands. And whether you're thinking of touching skin, their clothes, their tissues, or their skeleton, their bony structure. So now begin to explore the shape of their shoulder region. Because often when we say the word shoulder, it can mean different things to different people. And begin to map out for yourself and for your partner this landscape. So some places you'll feel rounder shapes that feel less dense, and other places you'll feel more of their skeleton or their bones. Now, your intention is not to necessarily immediately find their clavicle or their shoulder blade, but get to know them and help them get to know themselves through your touch. If you're not sure about the quality of your touch or some other thing, how fast you're going or how firm your pressure is, ask your partner. Would you like me to go faster or slower? Would you like me to a little firmer contact or a little lighter contact? Notice how many words you need to use to get that feedback. So how can you use yourself to explore the region of their shoulder girdle, how their scapula is lying in relationship to their spine, the clavicle, in a way that helps them listen to themselves? So when you have taken a look at and sensed the general shape of them and maybe found some landmarks, find out if it's possible to really outline for them the edges of their scapula, the bony prominence on the scapula, the spine of the scapula, and their clavicle. Have a certain shape. And the scapula is a little triangular. Is it possible for you to explore that? Find some of those angles? Okay. So please bring your exploration to a close. B, could you come back up to sitting? And return to having your partner reach. A, sit behind them. And have your partner reach, putting your hands on them, on their shoulder blade, on their clavicle. Just notice what you observe now, with your eyes or with your hands. And then come up to standing. And do the same thing in standing. So first of all, without touching, just let your B reach several times. Observe how they're reaching, what's involved. They changed the way they're reaching at all? Okay, and then could you swap roles? So without discussing, so you start in standing, start in standing. B, observe first. So A, I'm going to go back to A. A is now the doer, so you've changed whether you're an A or a B. So B, reach a little. Notice if your reaching has any resonance of what you've just been seeing and sensing. Explore different directions of reaching. And choose the easiest direction to reach in. And A, put your hands on your partner's shoulder blade or shoulder girdle in a way that your partner can still move freely, but you can follow and sense with your hands. Notice, do you get different information? So you're just choosing your easiest direction, moving in that direction and coming back, going again. A, you can put your hands on different places of your partner, but with the intention of what is their shoulder blade doing, how is their shoulder girdle participating in their reaching. It's more the primary focus, but the next question to ask would be, how do they coordinate that movement through themselves, or what's the sequence of involvement? Okay, now please bring yourself to sitting and do the same thing. Explore the same idea, choosing the easier direction to reach in. And if you don't know, if it's not easy to tell which is the easiest direction, just pick one. And then bring your hands to your partner's shoulder blade. Follow the movement of the shoulder blade as they reach. Maybe put one hand on the shoulder blade and one hand on their spine. See if there's a relationship there. We have the ability to isolate our actions, but as you're learning more and more, a movement is more efficient, an action is more efficient, as it involves more of ourselves in a distributed way. Okay, then please, B, could you lie on your side with the arm that you've been reaching with uppermost? And A, could you assist your partner to organize themselves to lie in a comfortable way on their side, considering the factors that can influence the configuration or the ease of lying on the side? Yeah. So get something else. So you don't want to have a rolled
Yeah,
up
not
thing.
too
You don't
thick,
want
isn't it?
rolled up. Because it, do you know what? So you're thinking of the configuration of their legs, their organisation of lying on their side, the relationship of their head to their torso, in particular the line of their spine and the line of their face. So glasses, if someone's wearing glasses, it will make a difference to how they lie on how their head lies. So take them off, yeah. Good. How's it feeling to you?